Hello everybody, this is Lee from Normandy Atelier, and today we are in the living room because I want to share with you all this painting I did here for Madonna. I love Madonna so much and I love this painting. You can see it here so much, you have no idea. And when I did this painting like a few weeks ago, I wanted to celebrate Madonna, and it was her birthday, and I wanted to tell the world how much I appreciate Madonna, because for me she is not only a singer or a pop star, but also she is more than that. She is a fighter, she is an activist, she is a symbol for individuality and for freedom, for personal freedom. And she has been like this since the 80s, since she started, maybe before that, I don't know. And she has been always true to herself. She has always been like who she is, without any kind of trying to change herself or trying to be in a mold or trying to please everybody, even if that means she is going to face backlash, or even that if that means she is going to confront the norms of everyday life, politically, the religion, economic side, and when she talks about politics and equality. And that is like mirrored through her art, and I think that is the exact thing that made her music accessible to lots of people, and lots of people see their stories in her art, even if they don't share the same exact life experience as her. And like in general, what I wanted to do from this painting, like there was a theme, and like, it makes me smile, like it's like party in hell because of course it is, it's party in hell. It's always a party with Madonna. And yeah, I added the fire because I didn't do a photorealistic image of her, because well, first of all, I don't like that. I don't see any kind of value in that. And I wanted to paint the sensation, the feeling that Madonna gives me every time I listen to her, every time I think about her. And yeah, I painted this like blonde woman because of course she is blonde for me. In my eyes, she was always this blonde figure. And I made it her extra feminine because of her like feminine energy, and she always refused any kind of authority over women's bodies and women's thoughts. Also, of course, I added some kind of her most iconic imagery, especially the crosses, the burning crosses from like a prayer, and of course the hearts. I wanted to add a heart that is like in flames because it's her rebel heart. It's funny because it's her album 2015. I believe that phrase rebel heart is exactly her. This, for me, Madonna has always been a rebel heart, and she will always be like that. And I like like chapeau. I love that so much. And the disco ball, because it's a party in hell. I enjoyed making this painting so much. It makes me feel so happy. I put it here near the TV. I sit there and I can see her every day. And what's interesting about Madonna is that actually the values that she carries, and these values were and still are self-defined. Like they came from inside of her, not from the world outside of her. She doesn't seek validation from the political world or from the religious world or from the society. Everything that she represents come from inside of her, and that is the meaning of individuality. Like you don't need, as an individual in a democracy, you don't need a validation from any kind of authority to validate your existence. And of course, and the way you live and who you love and anything that is related to your personal space, you don't need that validation. And that is exactly what the French Revolution actually started. That kind of individuality doesn't exist outside of democracy. And this is why Madonna is important, because she's a reminder of that, of how fragile the democracy is, and how in danger democracy is all the time, because we can see it all the time now. Especially now, we see this rise of nationalism and the rise of conservative speech and discourse especially among politicians, and the rise of far right here in Europe, and what's happening in the United States as well. And all that is just a reminder of how fragile a democracy is, and our rights as individuals how fragile they are if they are not protected. Like when we see Madonna, she was born in the 50s. She was raised in this world when the democracy wasn't even established to the degree that we have it today, especially civil rights that we have today. She's lived all that struggle. She saw homophobia. She saw racism. It's not only about art or music or catchy tunes or whatever. Of course, that is very important and very obvious that she is the master of that. She is the queen after all, of course. But the values that she represents, they go beyond the music, because it's all about individuality. And even when we talk only about the music, we can see that clearly, because she refuses the idea itself that pop need to be polished and pop need to be refined and stuff like that. She confronts that idea in the music industry itself by producing all these albums and all these songs that they are not only mixing all kind of genres and influence to the pop and to the mainstream, but also they sometimes go to the, not extreme, but they go to abstract, and they go to distortion in her American life era and in music era even. And after that, and I appreciate that so much, because when we compare what Madonna releases to other pop stars, you see the difference. Like, she is not afraid even to challenge what pop music means and what music in general means, not as an artist, but as a person, for us all. And I love that so much, and I appreciate it so much. I wrote many articles in my life, because I don't know if you know, I am a journalist and a writer. I wrote many times about the influence of Madonna, especially when we talk about her values in places they don't exist, like in the Middle East or in dictatorships or stuff like that. And just one reminder to remember how much individuality connected to Madonna's career, or to Madonna as a person and as an artist. Like, we just need to remind ourselves, like the Soviet Union and North Korea and Assad regime in Syria, they all banned Madonna in a way or another. Sometimes these kind of bans were very formal and very official and very, like, to the point, like she is banned. And sometimes, like, she is just banned in a soft way, like on an unofficial way. Like, I know stories, like, for example, from Syria, and people who just got arrested for that. And I cannot forget the time when a Syrian professor in media and communication told me once that Madonna is a symbol of Americanism and it needs to be banned, and the journalists there, they are the elite of the of the society, and they need to know their enemies. Like, that is a story for another video, of course. But oh my God, like, the backlash that Madonna had just for being herself is unmatched. And I cannot think about anyone else who faced that just because she wanted always to be herself no matter what. And that is just a lesson for anybody else to have and to take. It's inspirational. Like, talking about Madonna, sometimes like, when I talk about her, like, I feel like, what else can I add? Like, everything that is important about Madonna has already been said. But at the same time, I will see videos on YouTube for people who don't even know who Madonna is, or they didn't have the opportunity to listen to her music or dive deep into her catalog, and they think, oh yeah, she is just another star from another era. But it's more than that. And sometimes it's sad that this happened to her just because she is older now, or I don't know, it's just a little bit weird, because it's not about fandom fights, or it's not about presence in the music industry. It's about just paying respect to somebody who gave so much to the entire humanity, I believe. And she deserves more. She deserves gratitude and love, because she gave so much love to this world. Like, she did so many things to communities and minorities through her career. Like, for example, she has always stood for the LGBTQ community, even when that was not even popular. She got so much backlash in the 80s and the 90s, especially when AIDS was a problem in the United States, because of course of the conservative governments at the time and religious speech at the time. And it's enough to remember the impact of Madonna by just like she confronted the Vatican many times, to the degree that the Vatican themselves, they said that her performances were the most satanic performances in the history of humanity. This is outrageous. And it's again one other thing, like she mixes a lot of religious imagery into her art, and it's a little bit blasphemous, and I love that so much, because for me, I believe that the right of blasphemy should be a human right, and maybe it is. We saw that in the opening ceremony of Paris Olympic Games in 2024, and there was this outrage about, oh, they are blasphemous, they are offending the religion and religious people, etc., etc. But that is not true. The act that they did was technically based on what Madonna did before in Holy Water, when she performed that in her Rebel Tour era. It was just magnificent to see all that backlash, because sometimes you feel like the humanity is going always backward, not forward, although we are moving forward, especially in democracies. But most of the world doesn't have even democracies. They are very conservative. Like we see all kind of dictatorship and authority that are very, very strict. And it's a shame, and it's sad, and people deserve better. And this is what I have been writing for like more than 15 years now, on a daily basis, because it matters. These kind of things matters, although they are sometimes toxic and difficult and not easy to manage, especially with censorship and editorial opinions, and I don't know what else. It's just sometimes it's hard to do so. And Madonna for me has always been not like a compass, but when everything gets hard and difficult, like I remember her, and I remember, yes, she has always find a way to say whatever she wants to say, and that is always beautiful. I love that so much, and this is what I did the painting. And yeah, blasphemy, like the right of blasphemy is important, because like I don't need religion in my life to tell me what is right and what is wrong, and to validate my soul existence. This is outrageous. No, I refuse that. Like I met this guy once, and he told me, "Oh, he wants to get married." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to get married. Like I don't need a validation from any kind of authority for my love for anybody I like or I love. This is horrifying for me. No, the validation comes from me, not from any kind of authority. And this is for me individuality." I love that about Madonna. She is not afraid to talk about religion and to challenge religion as an authority without being harsh, without being mean to believers. Because even for me, like anybody, if they choose to believe in a religion or in a big idea or a philosophy, they have the every single right to do so. My problem is when this religion became an authority. That's it. It's everybody's right to believe in whatever they want to believe, but don't make that belief a law. Don't make that a constitution. Don't make that a sword that want to cut our heads off if we are not okay with it or something like that. Religion is funny because like all religions like have had this lots of discriminations toward all kind of a group inside of them, and for me this is horrifying, especially in places like the Middle East, for example. I covered lots of stories about that region of the world, and it's hard because politics and religion are very intertwined and very connected to the degree that it's sometimes really hard to separate one of the other. And Madonna is just so important, especially if we are thinking about current pop stars. It's like you see a decline in even in their qualities, like musically and ethically and morally and involvement in politics. If we compare Madonna to Taylor Swift, for example, one of the biggest stars on the planet today, there is a huge difference for me, because somebody like Taylor Swift, she doesn't even involve in politics. She prefers to be outside, and for me she always gives this conservative vibe in her music, in her attitude, in her beliefs, and that is her right. She can do whatever she wants. I am not here to judge her. It's just when comparing somebody like Madonna to somebody like Taylor Swift, Like you see a difference, and like that could be linked to the millennials in general, because in a way Taylor Swift could represent that generation more than anybody else, because we can see that in voting numbers in democracies in Europe and the United States. They are always in decline. That is scary, to be honest. And in that lens, Taylor Swift could be just a mirror and a representation for a generation who doesn't care about politics. For me, it's not only caring about politics, it's taking everything for granted and taking all these rights that we have for granted. But somebody like Madonna, she didn't grow up with that. She had to fight for it, and she had to stand for it, and she had to get backlash just because she was an activist technically. And yeah, this is a very interesting angle to think about pop before and pop now, and somebody like Madonna and somebody like Taylor Swift. And in a way or another, Madonna has always been, for me, more than an artist, more than a pop star. Sometimes I feel like what she represents, it's a mirror of the world, because she lives as somebody who is witnessing everything that is around her, and she incorporates all that as an inspiration and put that into her art, whether it's like in lyrics, whether it's in her music, or whether it's in her visual art that she represents, and in tools, of course. That is what an artist for me is. It's somebody who is living, who is not disattached from everything around him or around them. When I think about her more, there is this kind of melancholy in her work and a little bit of satire and irony. Lots of people, they don't understand. She said once on an interview that lots of her work is ironic, but people don't get it unless maybe the French. And maybe this is why I get it, I don't know. I love the melancholy that exists in her work, especially when she sings about life, or when she sings about just herself, like witnessing the world. I love that so much. That is a poet in her. Yeah, it's just beautiful. So yeah, this is why I painted Madonna and why I love her so much. I cannot wait for her new album. I think it's coming this year. She announced it last year. And I'm so excited for that, for the new music, the new ideas, the new era. I'm so here for it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I wish to see you all in another video. Bye everybody.